down until it comes through.
I think we should leave them off until we speak.
Okay.
There were some complaints.
Microphones come on, everybody gets quiet. Yeah.
We know how they work.
Did you throw it back in there then? I dropped it.
All right, the council please come to order. Tonight, our invocation will be given by Pastor Jimmy Wallace. Sir, the floor is yours. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Let's pray together. God, we thank you for the gift of another day today, that the sun came up this morning and that we were blessed today in many ways. Thank you for the refreshing rain this afternoon. And God, I just thank you for leaders that you give us to lead our communities. And God, I pray for them. Pray that you would give all these tonight that are here and part of this council meeting. Give them wisdom, God. Give them direction and clarity of thought. And we pray that as we serve each other and serve our community, God, that we might be serving you to the best of our ability. And God, we know that you've placed each one here for a special reason, special purpose, and a special time. And we just pray for your blessings and your guidance and your wisdom and your leadership. Thank you tonight for each one here, God. Thank you for our community. And we just love you and thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. City Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Mayor,
Here.
Mr. Philip Powell,
Here.
Miss Stewart. Here. Mr. Cordell,
Here.
Miss Bridges.
Here.
Miss Elmore. Here. Mr. Biles,
Here.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Mr. Hatton,
Here.
Mr. Florence,
Here.
Mr. Butler.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, city packet was assembled last week. I was ready for pickup on Fridays. Everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from last month.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the regular meeting.
Second. Motion is made, second. Any questions? The only thing I've got for the regular meeting minutes is, you'll see it, the acceptance of May meeting should be July. So we'll make it contingent on the correction. Does everybody see that? That's no issues. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We had a special meeting to approve the funding purchase of a new police car. That was on August 12th. Thanks, Anna. So I'll take a motion to approve the special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right. First thing we got tonight is a public comment. It's a special public comment. Usually get 3 minutes, but Miss Sharon Sims has drove all the way from Jackson, Mississippi to be here with us today. She is an expert in mosquito illness prevention practices. She travels probably all over the Southeast and educates cities, municipalities, entities, nonprofits on the importance of mosquito abatement programs. And so she's a part of MIA, Mosquito Illness Alliance. What they do is they promote awareness mosquito illnesses in terms of prevention, symptoms, diagnosis, and they result in quality of life issues that are associated with that. And this is kind of wrapped up into, there's no action to be taken on her presentation. She's not selling or pitching this or anything. But I consider this city business as we move forward the next 2 to 3 years on how we design our mosquito abatement program to be more robust. I want us to be armed with this information that this isn't just a quality of life issue, that mosquitoes have the ability to really impact us at home with our kids and our family and our dogs and our pets and everything. And recently, Mr. Roy Don Lewis and Greg Lingo also took part of a 3-day seminar in Little Rock that was hosted by Texas A&M. So all 3 days, they learned how to identify, use microscopes, identify mosquitoes, identify diseases, chemical, the whole 9 yards. So it was a really informative seminar that he got to take part of, he and Greg both. So that was really good. So Ms. Sims, I'll open it up. The floor is yours. If you would, please present back from the podium. Actually, you want me to bring up that PowerPoint for you?
Yes, please. Let me tell you a little bit about me. Mayor Reed did a good job, but let me go a little bit into detail about what I do. I am president of a nonprofit called Mosquito Illness Alliance, which we do education, we do research, and we do support for actual West Nile virus patients and any other mosquito-borne illnesses. I also serve on the board of directors for the National DEET Education Program out of Washington, D.C., and I'm also on the board of directors for the Mississippi Mosquito and Vector Control Association. So I'm just going to touch a little bit on my PowerPoint, just kind of go through a few slides. I was able to spend some time with Roy Don this afternoon, just kind of going around to the different areas of your city, looking at some problem spots, looking at your ballparks where a lot of kids, a lot of parents are, and I know the mosquitoes are horrendous here, so I'm going to just kind of breeze through my PowerPoint to be able to open it up for questions. I also just made an assessment of the things that might help you with your mosquito control issues. We are 20 years now, this is the 20th year of West Nile virus. In 1999 is whenever it came to the United States and New York City. And what happened in New York at the Bronx Zoo, they noticed that a lot of their exotic birds were dying. They tested it for St. Louis encephalitis, and that came back negative. So they knew that they had a new virus in the United States. So with further testing, they came up with West Nile virus, that's what the disease was that was killing a lot of the birds. West Nile virus is actually a bird disease. Are you going to click my slides?
I'll be glad to. You just
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I probably got a little ahead of myself. In 1999, it was all in the news. Y'all may remember, and it pretty much just started in New York and it just swept across the nation. So exactly what is West Nile? We call it an arbovirus. It is transmitted by mosquitoes. Illness can occur, of course, in humans. It's actually a bird disease. It's the bird that carries the virus. Horses can get West Nile virus and some of the other arboviruses as well. Very rarely do we see other animals with it, but your dogs and cats can get West Nile virus. They're not going to die from it, but they're going to maybe just be real lethargic for 2 or 3 days and not feel well. There have been some squirrels, there have been some alligators, and you think, what the heck? How can a mosquito bite that alligator with that thick skin? But it's around their eyes and around their snout, and that soft tissue is how they transmit the disease. So like I said, it's a bird disease. The vector is the mosquito. It's the female mosquito because she has to have blood in order to lay her eggs. So if you're getting bitten by a mosquito, it's a female mosquito. And then once that mosquito picks up the virus, it's transmitted to humans and horses. Humans and horses are dead-end hosts. It doesn't go any further than that. You can't get it from person to person. You can't get it from your horse. And your horses can't get it from each other. We're called dead-end hosts. This is a great chart because that first bird there, which looks green, it's normally red, that bird has been infected with West Nile virus. All of those mosquitoes are going to bite that bird, and then they're going to get a blood meal from more birds, so it just amplifies, and you have a lot of birds that are carrying the virus, and you also have a lot of mosquitoes with the virus. The case age range is all ages. We've had a 2-month-old with West Nile. We've had 90-year-olds with West Nile. The first year's CDC had the case range 65 and above, and it was mainly men. And we kind of figured out men are outdoors more than women are, so that's why men were more prominent to get it. But once we started seeing younger patients, they changed that to the high risk as 50 and older, at risk for the more severe. The case fatality is 3 to 15%, and those pictures to the right is where you're going to find that mosquito. It's the Culex quinquefasciitis. We call it the southern house mosquito because it likes to hang around your house. If you are breeding mosquitoes in your backyard, that's where they're going to live because they do not fly very far. They fly less than a mile in their lifetime. So if you have containers that are in your backyard that are holding water, you need to make sure that you dump those. That's where you're going to find this mosquito that carries West Nile. There was a lot of talk about birds. The first year CDC funded all the health departments in all the states, and they were testing birds. Now we have found that mosquitoes are the better indicators of the virus. Usually whenever you start seeing positive mosquito pools, and I'm going to talk about that a couple of more slides over, once you start seeing positive mosquito pools, about 2 to 3 weeks after that is when you start seeing human virus. So it's pretty fast. CDC offered a lot of funding. I know that this year, 2019, is going to be the ending of the Zika funding that a lot of the health departments got. So it's very important for cities and towns to figure out where they can get that money in order to continue these programs that CDC first were able to build. And a lot of the smaller cities and towns that never had a program before, with the CDC funding, they were able to start programs. But you have to some way, somehow figure out how to sustain that program. This is way back in the day. Luckily, we've come a long way from that, okay? To adulticiding in trucks. I know that y'all have trucks, the backpack sprayers. Those really came into play with Zika virus because Zika virus really changed the game. The Culex quinquefasciitis, the southern house mosquito, is a dusk and dawn biter. The mosquitoes, the Aedes aegypti, is a daytime biter. So it changed the game when Zika virus came around because, and that's when the backpack sprayers came out because you had to actually, the mosquito control had to go into the yards to be able to fight those mosquitoes for mosquito control. Just the truck going down the road wasn't going to get it for Zika virus. And I know that y'all have some of the backpack sprayers as well. Larviciding, that's something new, and I hear whenever I go to meetings or do presentations, somebody will say, I haven't seen a mosquito truck all summer long. And I say, great. That means that that town is probably larviciding, and you're not going to see that. I know that y'all do larviciding here, and the larvicide is where you put either a dump, granulars, it comes in liquid form, that it's put in ditches or areas that you cannot eliminate the water, and that lasts probably for about 3 months. So I know that y'all are doing that. Drones is another way that can do the mosquito larva, the larvicide as well. Surveillance. And I was so happy to hear Roy Don tell me that y'all do surveillance here, that you don't see that a whole lot. And that surveillance is just going to let you know what you have. These are some traps that are set out just to see, and you can tell by this. The one on the right is a gravid trap, and that's the one that's going to attract that Culex quinquefasciitis mosquito. There's dirty, yucky, smelly water, which is what this mosquito loves. It loves stagnant water. It's going to lay its eggs in the bottom there, and you see that the top, they're going to fly, the adult mosquitoes are going to fly in there, and then they're taken back to the lab. You can go ahead. They're taken back to the lab and they're tested in a pool. That top right is a pool of mosquitoes. So that trap was set out on Main Street, and that little petri dish there is all the mosquitoes that were found on Main Street. And if those test positive, then you would know that you needed, the mosquito control would know that they needed to do surveillance in that area to see where that breeding source is. So I found out that y'all do have some traps, y'all are doing some surveillance, which is great. This also is the indicator of when you start spraying. If you have 2 or 3 mosquitoes in that trap in early May, there's no need to start spraying. Also, another indicator is dipping water in ditches, and if you have just very few larvae in there, there's no need to waste your chemical or your larvicide in spraying it until you get at least 50 or more mosquitoes in your trap. But you may, this time of the year when it's so hot, it doesn't take very long for those mosquitoes to pop out. So Roy Dodd may set that trap and he may have 600 mosquitoes. So that's a good indicator of when you need to start doing your spraying. Education, which is very important. Another great thing that he told me today that he learned at a meeting that I spoke at, I think earlier in the year, March or April, is that it doesn't take but just a few little things that your city and town can do. But he was telling me about the spray stations that y'all do at the ballpark. Went and bought just different varieties of mosquito repellents so that citizens can use those while they're at the ballpark. That's a great idea because if they, maybe next time they'll remember, okay, well I need to bring mine, or I know that the park's gonna have it because I forgot mine, so that's another plus. Also, the picture, if you can go back, the picture to the right is mosquito control. And as I told you, I serve on the board for the Mississippi Mosquito and Vector Control Association. And I know that Arkansas does not have one. I've done some work with the Department of Health here with David Thoreau, and also have talked it up through CDC and the American Mosquito Control that they would love for Arkansas to have a program. If you have a type of association that offers the education to your different cities and towns on different products, learning who the vendors are, not the soap salesman, you can have a much better program. It's also an opportunity to receive federal funding. If you were to have a disaster, you can go through this Mosquito Control Association to get the word out to those people. I told Mayor Reed that I would be happy to get them involved in setting that. If you guys want to be the leaders on that for the entire state, would be a great thing. It would open you up to a lot of different things. And like I said, CDC and the American Mosquito Control would love for Arkansas to be in the game. Okay. Like I said, Zika was a game changer. You can go ahead. And I also, whenever we normally hold our meetings or any presentation that I get, I try to get someone in the area to talk about their experience for West Nile. This is a very life-changing illness. A lot of people think that you get it and you get over it, and a lot of people do. But if you have the more severe illness, it is life-changing. And it's lingering symptoms years and years. We are finding out through our research study that about 4 to 6 months after the initial virus that they're having a lot of these autoimmune diseases that are working against their body. So we're involved in long-term research studies just to follow these patients. This is 1999 to 2018 statistics from CDC. There's been 48,183 and 2,330 deaths from West Nile virus in that time frame. Already this year, there's 326 cases, and there's only one Arkansas case, but it is the neuroinvasive. It is the more severe type illness. The message is still the same. It doesn't matter what arbovirus it is. There's going to be many more that are going to come. You just need to avoid dusk and dawn for West Nile virus. Empty any containers, repair screens and windows on doors, and wear an EPA registered repellent, and that's very important. These are all the EPA registered products. Everybody is familiar with DEET, which is the Deep Woods Off or whatever. They come up with a lot of varieties, but one of the things that you need to look at is the active ingredient. Make sure it's EPA registered, because that very first one, the oil of lemon eucalyptus, that is an all natural product, but you cannot put that on a child less than 3 years old. The American Academy of Pediatrics says that you can put 30% DEET and also the picaridin on a child 2 months and older. So you need to make sure that you follow the label instructions. Also, the percentage on the can, it'll say 27%, 25%, 90% DEET, or whatever it is. 7% to 10% is going to give you about an hour's worth of protection. The 40% is going to give you 6 to 8 hours of protection. So more is not better. More just lasts for a longer period of time. You need at least 20% DEET in order to repel ticks. And you also need to reapply it more often if you're in a tick area. So 20% more. We still have a long way to go. There's been a lot of changes, but we still have a long way to go. So that's pretty much, I want to kind of go over, offer it up for questions, but I wanted to comment on what's going on with your city and town. You have an excellent program. I was very impressed with your program that you already have. There were a few things that I noticed that could be, and Roy Don and I talked about it. You can always improve things, but it takes money in order to do that. But one of the things that y'all are doing is, and you may not even be aware of this, but I heard great things today, and that's because they go to a lot of these trainings. The training that Texas A&M did, CDC was also involved in that, and that was a great program to learn. And you also get an opportunity to meet and see what other cities and towns are doing too, especially with the association, if you can, figure out how to do that. But the rotation of chemicals is good, because those mosquitoes, it's like taking an antibiotic. After a while, you get resistant to the antibiotic. Mosquitoes do the same thing. If you spray a chemical for years and years and years, or even a whole summer, they become resistant to that, and you're going to have a huge mosquito problem. So y'all are doing that rotational exactly how you're supposed to be doing in order for those mosquitoes not to build up a resistance. Another thing that I noticed is he took me out around the whole perimeter, and a lot of your rice fields and your crops are in the county. I don't know what kind of relationship y'all have with the county, but it would be great if y'all could partner together and form some type of county mosquito control program, because that's only going to enhance what you've got going on in the city. I have dealt with this in several states, and they do really great things together. They may be able to get some funding to buy some of your old equipment so that you can buy new equipment. They share all of those things together. So that's a suggestion that I would make, is to have a county program, because as long as you've got all of these crops with all of this water, it's just hard to stop at the city limit line and those mosquitoes not come over. So that's one of the things. Another thing that I noticed today was at your ballpark, the mosquito eradicator. Are y'all familiar with the Spartan mosquito eradicators? I was very happy to find out that you did not spend any of your mosquito control money on those because they do not work. I was skeptical whenever they first came out in 2016, and then just kind of did more research on it, consulted with several at the American Mosquito Control Association, the entomologists that I work with in different states, and we were all skeptical about it, and finally we had someone to come out and write a paper on it, and I have a copy of those, so I was really happy to know that y'all didn't spend taxpayer money on those. I think they donated those to y'all to put around the ballpark, but I work with the patients. I know what a life-changing disease this is, and I would be very upset if I knew that I got West Nile virus at your ballpark and you backed that product. So that's just kind of just a thing that I saw today that I just wanted to make you aware of. But y'all are doing everything right, and I was very excited to see that from some of the meetings that Roy Don has been, and now Mayor Reed has gotten involved in, that y'all are doing great.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon.
Okay.
I know that was long, but I wanted to be
I'm
respectful.
sorry.
No.
I
No.
could sit here all night and go on about mosquitoes.
Well, 4-hour drive to give us a 20-minute presentation. I'm very thankful. And as you guys know, mosquito abatement is a comprehensive approach, and it starts with education, and that starts with us at this table. So, again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free. If not, that's okay too. The network, the relationship building with Sharon is incredible, and that's what you can't see outside of this council. We're very, very thankful that she's in our circle, and I know Roy Don is incredibly happy that she's visited. I am too. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the docket is the 2022 Executive Board Report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, we had our Lonoke 2022 quarterly meeting on August 22nd, and Ms. Lisa Frazier from UAMS gave a really nice talk about the sorts of criteria that would be expected if we wanted to become what's called a bicycle hub community. And this is a program that the state is putting together, and they're essentially trying to make a statewide bike route. So we're interested to see, maybe how Lonoke could fit into that. So she gave us some really good information. We're really pleased with the turnout. We had about 40 citizens that were at the meeting, so a lot of interest there. So I also want to mention that for each of our teams on the downtown support team, which is headed by Ryan Biles, they're going to be setting up a series of committees that's going to allow them to take steps to become an independent 501c3 organization. And this is in preparation for us to be able to enter Lonoke into the Main Street Arkansas program. And so their next meeting is going to be Tuesday, September 10th at noon, and is that going to be at the depot? Yes?
No, at Gina's house.
Gina's house, okay. And that's where they're going to be setting up these committees. And so they also want to encourage any downtown property owners or business owners to participate in that. And so you can contact lonoke2022@gmail.com for more information. On the Jobs and Education team, that's being led by Tiffany Hunter. They have been working with Autumn Stewart, who is part of that team, and she, along with the other 8th grade teachers, are working to set up a mentoring program for every 8th grade student at the school. And the purpose of this is to then pair these students up with various community leaders and business owners to just expose them to different sorts of career opportunities that they might be interested in. And they're hoping that the students would be inspired to maybe eventually, come back here when they get their education to find employment in our own community. So if anybody is interested in that, follow up with contacting Autumn Stewart. And they're going to have their next meeting on October 9th at 5:30 p.m., location to be determined. On the housing team, this is being led by Karen Dill, and they're going to meet on this Tuesday, I believe it is, at 6 p.m. at the depot. And they will meet with the Economic Development Committee and discuss how these two committees can work together to kind of further aspirations for helping to grow the community. In addition, there's going to be a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Group on October 6th, and they're looking to invite builders and developers to that meeting to kind of identify any sorts of roadblocks that might be to preventing new construction, and how the city can maybe help streamline some of these processes to encourage developing property in Lonoke. Then there's the infrastructure team, and this is led by Gene Eagle and Walls McCrary. And they're gonna meet on September 12th at 6 p.m. at the depot. And they have a wide range of topics that they want to talk about, including drainage, the broadband and cell coverage in the area, various energy saving opportunities, bond issue refunding opportunities, and in general economic development. In addition, they're going to have Ed Swain, who will be there and speaking about drainage management. Then lastly, I want to touch about the beautification and recreation team. This is led by Lynn Ann Ivy and Belina Washington. And we've made our selection of the Yard of the Month winners for September. However, those people haven't been presented with their awards as yet. And so that will be taking place this week. October will be our last month for us to be awarding Yard of the Month, and that's been a really very successful program. As a reminder, we want to let you know that the Lonoke County Museum is going to be hosting a historical walking tour. This is on September 8th, which is a Saturday. It's the same day as the 5K Pumpkin Run. And this is going to have people downtown dressed up in period attire at 9 different locations in front of our historic buildings and kind of tell you some of the events that took place in those buildings. Our next beautification team meeting will be on September 23rd at 5:30 at the Lonoke County Museum. I want to end with that the beautification and recreation team would like to propose requesting some funding for some additional improvements to our concrete planters that we have various flower pots around town. I've handed out a budget for that. And what this is, it includes purchasing 8 more concrete planters, and they're gonna match the ones that we already have kind of in our center and Front Street intersection area. And that is at $80 a piece for $640. We wanna get some new shrubs to replace some of the ones that have passed away or ones that need to go into our new planters. And that's gonna be 15 shrubs at $18 each for $270. Also some annual flowers, probably different colors of pansies, for 12 flats at $15 a flat for $180. New potting soil, 50-quart bags, 25 of those at $15 a bag at $375. And watering spikes, which help get water down to the base of the plant, 9 per box. We're going to get 2 boxes of those for $30. And some additional replacement shrubs and flowers for our existing pots, which would be about $250. So the total request from the beautification team is for $1,745 for these refurbishing our current pots as well as establishing new pots. And so our proposed locations are to have 4 of these around City Hall here, around the corner, 2 at the police department, and 2 at the fire department, as well as making our existing ones refurbished.
All right, I'll take a motion.
I so moved.
Is that 1745, does that include tax?
Not sure, do you know, Alice, if it includes that?
Yes.
It does.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Are there any questions, any discussion on it?
That come out of retail economic.
Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank you, I appreciate it.